What's up, everyone? Welcome back. My name's Patrick, and look, we need to talk because just 6 days ago, what happened in the poker community was, in my opinion, the most important event that's happened in recent poker history. 6 days ago, GGPoker doubled the rake at 5K&L plus no limit hold'em cash games. If you're not familiar with GGPoker, I don't know where you've been living for the past few years, but basically, they have the most high stakes action of any site on the internet. They've got the biggest games and they've got by far the most recreational players. They vastly outperform ACR in that regard. And unfortunately on April 1st, literally April Fools, just in the middle of the night, they launched an update. Didn't tell anybody about it, but they doubled the rake, which was already insanely high at, again, 5K&L no limit hold'em cash games. This is a complete disaster, not just for the highest stakes players, but I'm going to argue in this video for everybody in the online poker community. Essentially, what GGPoker is doing is destroying the profitability of online poker, and anybody who plays this game really should be concerned. So what I want to do in this video is just jump on Twitter really quick and just bring you up to speed with all of the relevant facts of this story. I'm also going to contribute a little bit of data of my own on how GG is playing and what the win rates looked like before this change happened. And then I'm going to talk about where we're at now with negotiations and what I think needs to be done if things don't go back to the way they were. All right, so on April 3rd, you can see at GeorgeYMB on Twitter posted this post saying GGPoker has almost doubled their already insanely high HSNL rake, high stakes no limit rake. A group of 90 high-stakes no-limit players have organized a boycott of the games as a response. So first of all, shout out to George. He's been really fantastic in organizing this boycott so far, and he's doing just really, really good work, as well as a couple of other people who are helping to organize that. So thank you to George, and big shout out to him. So you can see from this photo that George posted, this is the rake on GGPoker 5K&L, 5 to 6 handed. And also for comparison, we have ACR and stars. So before the change happened, GGPoker's rake was more than 8 times higher than ACR and stars. And then they added another 3 big blinds per 100 to the rake. And so now we're looking at well over 10 times the rake of competing sites. First question that would probably enter your mind here is, why would anybody play on GGPoker? Well, GGPoker has done a ton of advertising. They've got a lot of ambassadors. They've got the slickest software, and they've really captured like all of the high stakes action in recent years. So if you want to play really high stakes cash games, and you want there to be at least a decent chance that you've got a recreational sitting at the table with you, GGPoker pretty much has a monopoly on that at this point. And so there's not really other places that everybody can just go play at. So now we have a new rake structure where the effective rake is basically 7 big blinds per 100. To give you a reference, that's what the rake usually is at 200 NL, not 5K NL. To provide a little more context and some data of my own, check out this screenshot from my database. This is, I've blurred out a lot of unnecessary information, but basically this is a database of 5K&L hands from the last year. And I'm looking at regs on GG at just 5K&L. And I've got 7 million data point hands here. And the key stat that I want to look at is the win rate. So you can see on average, regs on GG were losing last year at 1.3 big blinds per 100. So the average reg was losing. And now GG is taking another 3 big blinds per 100. So this number is going to go down to negative 4.3 big blinds per 100. So before this happened, the games were basically unbeatable for the average pro. Now they're unbeatable for everybody, except, maybe the best player or the best 2 players on that site. Before, playing 5K&L was kind of a degenerate move on GGPoker. And in fact, I told all of my students before this happened, my students at Mobius Cash, my high stakes players, not to play on GGPoker at 5K&L plus, at least not unless the games were extremely good, because it's going to be a really low win rate situation, even if the games are nice. And that's just kind of a degenerate move because you're just taking a really high variance spot at very high stakes. I told them to basically play anywhere else. Now, this is not a degenerate move anymore. It's just suicidal. There's no reason to play when the rake is this high. I mean, unless you were in an insanely good game, you're not going to be making any money. And the players have recognized that. And subsequently, George posted an update showing that the tables on GGPoker at high stakes were basically dead. Now, you might be thinking, I'm not a 5K and up player. I play 1K or I play 200 NL on GG. Or maybe you play MTTs on GG. Why should this matter to me? Well, here's another screenshot. This time, instead of 5K NL, we're looking at just 1K NL regs on GGPoker. I've got 26 million data point hands here. And the win rate for regs at 1K NL on GG, on average, was negative 3.4 big blinds per 100 pre-rake back. I think you can argue that the regs at 1K NL are probably getting more rake back than the ones at 5K. I'm not really sure how the system works, but I know for a fact that there are definitely some rake back pros in this pool who are losing a lot, but they're still making a profit when all is said and done. But still, if you're playing in these games, the situation is not a whole lot better than it was at 5K before the change happened. And you're in a very fragile situation. And I don't think that anybody can say for sure what GG is going to do next. They might, and I think they probably will, raise the rake at 1K next, and then probably go down to mid stakes after that and low stakes. If they're raising the rake at high stakes cash games, there's no reason to believe that they're only going to raise the rake there and nowhere else. So I do think that this affects people. We can't, as a community, just sit back and say, well, it's not my games, it's not my problem, because we need to look at what's happening at the highest stakes games as a trend, as foreshadowing what's going to happen elsewhere on the site. And for MTT players, look, I understand that the rake situation is not nearly as bad there. But I think the situation there is, maybe they are just a little bit further behind in capturing the market share that they want to capture at MTTs. So, maybe they're not making as much money as they could be on MTTs right now, keeping the rake low, trying to capture more of the MTT market. But who's to say whether or not they're going to jack up the rake in the future? I heard an interesting story once about Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime costs, I think, $15 a month. So what is that? $180 per year? I believe it's something like that. I once heard that Amazon Prime actually costs Amazon 2 to 3 times that amount to service its customers. So they're losing a significant amount of money on Amazon Prime. Well, why would they do that? Well, some people think that it's because at some point in the future, Jeff Bezos, once he's got enough customers who are really hooked on Amazon Prime and don't feel like they have anywhere else to go for extremely convenient, extremely fast deliveries on basically any product that they could ask for, at some point, that price is going to go up, and it's going to go up a lot, maybe 4x or 5x what it is now. And there's nothing you can do about it because they basically have a monopoly on their market. Even if half of their customers leave, that's still a very profitable decision for them to make. So I don't know if that's actually going to happen in that case, but there's a long history in business of companies that are effectively monopolies behaving in this way. And I don't really believe that anybody is safe here or that anybody should just be thinking this doesn't affect me, because it does. When this happened, when I saw the rake go up as much as it did, I thought there's no way that GG doesn't know what it's doing. And I thought, it's really hard to believe that this was anything other than an intentional move to just kill those games, to just nuke high stakes so that the games would stop completely, except for maybe a few recreational players who didn't know any better. Why would they want to do this? Well, unfortunately, the answer might be that they just don't care whether online poker is profitable in the future. Another alternative explanation, which is kind of what I've been hoping for, is that they just don't want to run high stakes cash games anymore. And they thought, rather than shutting them down, maybe we can just raise the rake enough that we effectively kill the games. And it'll be a little bit less unpopular, maybe. Based on conversations that I've seen since this happened, I don't believe that is the case. which is very scary because it means it's probably more of the former, that they're just going to raise Rake more and more, and they don't really care that much about how much the players are making. It's also possible that this was just an accident, like just a good faith mistake. They thought that they could raise the Rake and games would still be beatable, but I have to assume that these teams are smart. They know what they're doing. They've got the kind of data that I have access to because I'm just a player, and they have to know that what they just did. So I don't really buy that, but the best case scenario would just be that they come back and say, look, we didn't realize what we were doing and we're gonna put things back to normal. I think that would be the best case scenario. And in the future, professional poker players will be more vigilant about the Rake in the games they're playing, because honestly, sometimes, professional poker players, especially really talented ones, they just win and win and win, and they move up stakes very rapidly in their career, and they don't ever really need to think about the Rake in their games or the lineups. They just play, and they usually win until something like this happens, and now they're not used to having to do the math, basically. So I think a lot of players, this has been kind of a wake-up call for them, that they just can't play in any game. There are some games that they're not going to beat, even though they've beaten pretty much every other game up to this point in their career. If GG doesn't return to the old system, I think the next step of what's going to have to happen is the boycott is going to obviously need to continue, and then it's going to be up to the ambassadors of GGPoker, the professional poker players who are being paid to advertise for this company. I personally don't see how an ambassador can say that they are a positive impact on our community if they're advertising for this company, which is now clearly having a negative impact on online poker as a whole. So I think pressure needs to be put on these ambassadors to demand change, and if not, step down from their positions at GG, because it's really not right for them to be profiting off of a company which is making online poker impossible to beat. Look, none of us want online poker to have a ceiling of $250,000 per year on how much you can make. The whole point of online poker for a lot of people is to get to that dream scenario where you're really making millions playing this game. If you're capped at a couple $100,000 per year, at least in most parts of the world, I mean, poker is just not a career that's worth getting into. It's way too risky. There are way too many other downsides to get into it with just, the best case scenario being a couple $100,000 a year. For poker to be appealing to a lot of people, it needs to be possible to make a lot more than that. And with these decisions being made by GG, that's just not going to happen. So in summary, GGPoker, I really hope that we can return to the way things were. If the team at GG didn't really understand the gravity of this decision and how poorly it would impact the games, I can understand that, and hopefully we can just move forward from this. If GG does not agree to return to the old Rake structure, or ideally even something better than that, but let's at least just try to get back to the old system, then we need to look at the ambassadors. And look, to the ambassadors, I don't think anybody blames you for taking money from GGPoker to advertise for them up to this point. But at this point, I think you really need to reevaluate your position and the impact that you're having on poker as a whole by advertising for this company. I think that these ambassadors really need to consider demanding some changes be made with the company, and if not, threatening to step down from the company. And I would expect them to face a lot of pressure from the community to do so if we do not see these changes take place. That's all I got for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it. And share this video for awareness. Again, I think this is absolutely the most important thing happening in poker right now. Much more important than whatever feud is happening on Twitter between poker players. I really think right now we need to stop fighting amongst each other and focus on what's important, which is that online poker is still around in a few years and that we can actually still make money doing it. playing this game that we all love. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.